Most people who start a diet or exercise program won't reach their goals. And many people who do in fact reach their goal won't stay there. Diet and exercise changes do work for weight loss, but only when you stick to them. Yet most people don't. Why can't you? Well, today I want to talk about my thoughts. I'm going to share what I think is the reason why most exercise and diet programs for weight loss, for healthy habit changes, actually don't work long term. And what I think does work. How I've created my weight loss. Hi, if you don't know me, I'm Brian. Say hi in the comments. Let me know you're watching on replay if you're watching replay. I'm a weight loss and life coach, and I know what it's like. I used to weigh 50 kilos, more than I weigh now. And I lost those 50 kilos in just over a year, and I've maintained them ever since. That's what I help people do. But I've seen many people. I've actually, I've worked in the weight loss industry for more than 10 years, over 12 years now. And I've seen tens of thousands of people start. But I've only seen dozens of people finish, get to goal, stay there. And it's become my mission to help people actually make that change, to do the transformation, so that not only can you get to goal, but you can live your life at goal. It's the mission of my work, and it's why I created my coaching practice, because there is a piece here that's missing. And I want to share with you today. So there are lots of really specific reasons about why you personally might not be able to stick to your diet or your exercise program. And I've covered many of these topics before. The thing that's coming up at the moment is beyond those. There's a bigger picture thing. Like the specific things, of course, are not making a realistic plan, not thinking about how you're actually going to have to live your life. How is it going to fit in, right? Most diets and exercise programs naturally focus on what to eat, how to move, right? They focus on what to do to lose weight, create a kilojoule deficit, burn off more kilojoules than you're taking in, get the right amount of nutrition. And, I spent the last 10 videos, focusing on getting the right amount of the right foods for your body and talking about stopping for eating satisfaction. Now, those things work, but most people don't think about how it's going to be when it comes time to execute the program, what the mood's going to be like, what the obstacles are going to be. They underestimate the amount of changes that are required. Often we don't realize how ingrained so many of our unhealthy habits are. Or we try and change too many things too soon. We become overwhelmed and frustrated. Perhaps we have unrealistic expectations about how quickly it should happen or how perfectly we should be able to follow the plan. And once again, all of these specific reasons are going to get you in the way of sticking with it. But there's a bigger picture issue. And that's what I want to talk about today. That when you're just dealing with what to eat, how to move, what to do instead, you're trying to fix the symptoms, the weight, rather than actually dealing with the cause. The reasons why you're gaining, the reasons why you've developed those unhealthy habits, that unhealthy relationship with food in the first place. Notice that most diets, most exercise plans are focused on what to eat, how to move, what to do, not how to feel. And whether we like it or not, all of our actions are driven by emotion. It is feelings that drive us to act. So let's think about that. Because when we've developed an unhealthy relationship with food, when we're eating unhealthy foods in an unhealthy amount, then we're doing it because we're being driven to fix our emotions, right? We're eating for medication. We're trying to make ourselves feel good or feel better, trying to improve our mood with food, or to remember a joyous state we used to have. That's why so often many of our treat foods are associated with fond memories from our past. So we eat for medication, or we eat for distraction. We're trying not to feel, we're trying to avoid our feelings. This is particularly true often of the negative feelings: anxiety, stress, frustration, boredom. This is where we stress eat. We call it buffering. We're putting the food as a distraction, as in between us and feeling the actual emotion. We don't want to feel it. We want to get away from it. We want to hide from it. Or we want to numb it, suppress it. So we're either medicating, or numbing, buffering, distracting ourselves with food, or we are stimulating, which is really just distracting ourselves from feeling bored. Right? We're bored, and our brain knows that food is exciting. We're biologically wired to get excited about food. It's part of our primitive history when food was scarce. But none of the diets or exercise programs actually help you deal with it. Actually teach you how to allow yourself to feel the negative emotions when it's hard. Allow it to be hard. Like doing the work to make space for them, because those feelings are valid. You are actually having them. Now, you're having them because of your thinking. You're creating them in your mind, right? So it's important also to take ownership of them, right? We're creating them. It's us. We often think, we're taught to believe that other people, events in the world, circumstances create our feelings. They make me angry. I feel safe when I'm at home, right? Giving a gift makes us happy, shows love. Yeah? Breaking bread is being a good host, showing hospitality. All these sorts of things, right? That's what we have to do instead, right? We have to allow space for our emotions to rise up and to be present with them, rather than medicating them away, or distracting them away, or stimulating them away. We have to take ownership of them and know that we're creating them. And we have to stay with them long enough, we have to be present long enough with them to understand what they're here to tell us. I often talk about emotions just being the indicator light coming on in the cockpit of our lives, if you like, or a butler coming in with delivering a message. They're here to tell us that something's going on, that we're having some thinking, that there's a message or lesson that's available to us here if we pay attention to it. And most of us have become so frightened. We think our emotions are bad, particularly negative emotions. We have to escape from them. We have to hide from them. We have to run away from them. We have to suppress them as quickly as possible. They're a problem to be solved. What if they aren't? What if they're just a message here? We think it's going to hurt to feel them. We think it's going to be uncomfortable. And it will be. I'm sorry to say, it will be. It is uncomfortable to sit with our unpleasant, particularly our unfamiliar emotions if we've been avoiding them for so long. And this takes courage. But as my coach says, discomfort is the currency of success. This is actually the muscle we need to work out. And of course, I want to reiterate that none of the diet plans or exercise plans actually help you deal with this part. This is where we grow the strength. Actually having the courage to be present with ourselves, the vulnerability to experience our emotions fully and to heed the message. We don't need more willpower. We don't need another plan or a new piece of exercise equipment. We don't need to be told what to eat. We need more willingness to be uncomfortable. Now, if you're still with me, good on you. If you haven't run away at that thought, bravo, you're on the right track. And I want to offer you some good news here. That overweight people are actually very good at being uncomfortable. You know it. If you've got extra weight on, I certainly know it. When you're carrying around extra weight, everything is hard. Like simple things like tying up your shoes or walking upstairs, fitting into clothes, finding clothes that are flattering, fitting into the chair, fitting into an aircraft seat. Back when we could fly. So many everyday things just moving around. It's hard. There's a weight on our body, it's exhausting. And there's also a weight on our mind, which I'll come to in a moment. But I'm thinking of fitting into chairs, and I want to share with you an experience that one of my clients related to me the other day. And she said she was on the train, and she was going along and didn't even realize that someone had sat down next to her. Now, if you're a bigger person, if you're overweight, if you've got extra fat on your body, you might know what a big deal that is. I know I used to be the person who, either I would choose to stand on public transport, like on the bus or on the train, so that no one had to sit up with me, because I wasn't taking up one seat. I was taking up 1.5 seats or whatever. I was always the person no one wanted to sit next to, right? They'd either sit just on the very edge, sit further away, or, I'd see so many people, they'd come along and then go, oh, there's a seat there, but then they'd choose to stand, or they'd choose not to sit there, right? And because it's uncomfortable them, it's uncomfortable me. It's like, we think thoughts like, it's gross, it's unpleasant, right? To being the person, if you're that person, right, where you're kind of taken up extra space in the world, where often it means we don't have that social distancing, right? We have to be in physical contact with that person just because we take up so much space. And that can be unpleasant, that can be uncomfortable. And sometimes we're not so good at feeling emotionally uncomfortable. Right? Remember the emotions that drive us to eat here, right? Medication, stimulation, distraction. That's how we get into emotional eating, that we're not willing to be present with them. But I want to offer you this as well, that you might actually be better at it than you give yourself credit for. So first of all, know that you can change, and just notice how fun it is that when you do this work and you actually start to create change and you can start to lose that weight, and then suddenly you change that relationship with yourself. You're not a person whom no one wants to sit next to on public transport. You just take up. You can fit into the chair. You can fit in the space. Someone else can sit there, and it's fine. It's not a problem, right? Let me offer you this though. Sometimes we're better at feeling our emotions than we give ourselves credit for. It takes courage to show up in the world, to be the bigger person, to show up at the party or at the beach or the pool or the gathering or just in public, to be seen. It takes courage to be seen. It takes courage to push ourselves, to do, to try, to decide to go on a diet or to start an exercise plan. It takes courage to reach out for help. And if you've done any of those things, I really want to offer you, give yourself some credit for that. There is some uncomfort, so often we're so often taking on the shame that we've learnt to feel from other people, right? There's so much fat shaming in the world. There's this idea that because you're overweight, you must be weak or undisciplined. You just have something wrong with you. That isn't true. The shame doesn't belong to us. In fact, my clients and I have just spent a month or so working through, and perhaps some of them still working through that, but when working through overcoming that shame, developing pride. It's Pride Month, so I think it's an important time to develop that pride. And I want you to know that if you are focusing on what to do, you're focusing on the diet, you're focusing on the exercise program, then just remember that if you're treating the symptom and not the cause, you're bound to end up back where you are once again. Maybe you'll have success for a while, then you'll get off track, something will come up, life will get busy, life will get chaotic, you slip up, maybe you'll have a relapse, and then you'll have some micro quits, and then eventually you'll quit, then you'll put the weight back on, and then you'll come back, and then you'll feel bad enough, and then you'll do something about it again. because you're treating the symptom, the weight, instead of the cause, the emotions that are driving us to overeat or to eat unhealthily. So if you want to break that cycle, if you want to solve the real issues behind your weight gain, if you want to unravel the unhealthy habits that you've created around food and drink and exercise, and replace them with healthy routines you can actually live with, you need to create a new relationship with yourself. And from that, you'll create a new relationship with food and with exercise. You have to change the way you feel about you. The good news is, helping people with that is what I help people do. Help people create a new relationship with themselves so that they can create a new relationship with food, with exercise, new relationships in their lives, new goals, new dreams. Actually follow them through. It's a skill we can apply to our whole life if we get used to being uncomfortable. So, I want to let you know that enrollment for my Stop Sabotaging Your Weight Loss course is opening next week. And I'm looking for 5 people who really are ready to end their emotional eating for good. Who are ready to create a new version of themselves, who can not only get to goal, but stay there. And in a way they love. In a way that you love. Now you might wonder, why am I keeping it small? Why am I only looking for 5 people? Well, one of the reasons is, with the program, I work with you one-on-one, as well as there's video modules and workbooks and a Q&A call. Lots of help in the program and support, but I work with you. So I can truly help you get this solved. We can unravel what's going on. Now, if that's something you'd be interested in, type end emotional eating in the comments. Or, if you don't want to write in the comments, reach out to me in a direct message. Pop it in there. And I'll send you the link to the waitlist. If you're uncertain, you're not sure, can I do it? Is it really right for me? Then let's have a conversation. Let's talk about it. You know? Let's make sure this is a good fit for you. Because if you are unsure, if you're giving yourself doubt, if you're looking at your history and going, I failed so many times before, I can never stick to it, I can't do it. Okay, that's normal. That's what our brains do. Our brains always offer us doubt and confusion and history of past failures when we're considering doing something differently. That's what our brains do. It likes to keep doing what it's always done. And look, I'll be honest with you, if this program is not a good fit for you, I'll tell you. I'll give you some ideas about what you might need to do to get there or what you might do instead. If it's a good fit, reach out. Type end emotional eating in the comments if you want to find out more. And if you're not, that's okay. If you're going to go it alone, make sure that's a thing that works for you in the past. And ask yourself this today. Is what you're doing working for you? If you're sticking to your diet and you're doing your exercise and you're loving the results, bravo! Keep doing it. Keep creating the life you want. That's amazing. Be one of the small percentage. You know, it's something, I think the stats are about 4% of people get to their goal weight and stay there. And reach their goal and maintain it. Now, I love being one of the 4%. And I think the reason is that it's the 4%. It's the people who actually change that relationship with themselves. They actually learn how to take ownership of their emotions and manage them and process them through. And that removes all of the impetus, all of the motivation for unhealthy eating and drinking. Removes the motivation for being sedentary and procrastinating and putting it off till later, starting again tomorrow, next week. Removes all the motivation for binge eating. You don't have to do any of that anymore. And that alone, for most people, will help them return to an unhealthy weight. Just stop doing all of the unhealthy overeating. Get that solved. Learn how to sit with those emotions and process them through, and then all of that's gone. Most people will then just start losing weight naturally. Something you don't know what to do or how to do it. We know most of us, what healthy food is. We know how to move more. It's being uncomfortable enough to actually do those things. That's the skill you need to learn. So, is what you're doing working? If it is, good, keep it up. If it's not, right? If it's not, ask yourself if you're once again trying to treat the symptom and not the cause. You're trying to treat the weight without the reason for gaining the weight. And whether you join me or not, let me know this in the comments. What will you do today to practice allowing yourself to be present with your uncomfortable emotions and to understand them without medicating, distracting, or stimulating your way out of them? How will you do that? I know it takes courage. I know it takes vulnerability. And I know you can do it. If you want some help, reach out to me. Otherwise, practice and build that strength for future you. Hope this video has been helpful. You can find more at livemorelife.com.au. Have an amazing day.